Hey guys, it's Lori, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to share with you guys all the books that I read in the month of August. So if you guys haven't watched my latest video, or the video that was supposed to go out before this one, I'm going to leave that up here, but obviously watch that one because I know it's been a while since I've done any of these videos, and unless you've watched that one, you're probably like, why? What? This is so random that I'm doing a wrap-up and I haven't been posting in forever. So I'm going to post it somewhere on the screen or down below somewhere. I don't know. I don't know how YouTube works yet, so we'll see. It's going to be somewhere. So the first thing that I read in the month of August is Star Wars Darth Vader, Fortress Vader, which is, I think, the last one in this comic series. Like, it was volume 4. I think it's the last one because I tried looking to see if there was going to be any more, like pre-ordering the next one, but I didn't find any more, so I think it's the last one. So I think, once again, 2 years ago I started reading this series and I really liked it. Obviously, if this is the final one, I still like the series, but the fourth one was kind of like not the best. I don't really know how to explain it. It just felt a little bit dry, and I feel like they're kind of just, they were trying to prolong this comic series, mainly because Darth Vader is like a fan favorite, and I don't know, it just seemed a little funky. Plus, the final pages in this were really funny because I feel like they just added memes, which, if you follow prequel memes, you'll understand what I'm saying if you read this, but they put in a couple prequel memes, and I was very shocked they did that. Either way, I still enjoyed it for what it was because I always love a good story about Darth Vader, since he is my favorite. If you guys haven't seen my Darth Vader / Kylo / Star Wars shelf over here. So this was okay. Definitely not my favorite in the series, but I enjoyed it. I think it was the final one, although if it was the final one, it kind of ended in a weird way. Like, it definitely didn't end in a way that you feel satisfied. Like, I feel like there could definitely be more, but as I mentioned, I'm not entirely sure if it's the last one. Well, I guess we'll see later on. The next book that I read in the month of August is Witch Hat Atelier Air, Volume 2, which is a manga. And this is such a cute manga series that focuses on a girl who is like obsessed with magic in this world, and the way that they cast magic is they use art, they like draw it, and I just think that's so fun. Like, it's just a really cool way to create like a magical world, because usually it's you say something or you have to use like a wand or something like that, and this one you're literally just drawing, and it's just so cute. So obviously, since this is volume 2, I can't really go into what happens since it's kind of spoilery, but if you are a fan of like Harry Potter, or actually Studio Ghibli, like Spirited Away, My Neighbor Totoro, things like that, this gives me like all of those vibes, like Studio Ghibli vibes. And the art is like, it's beautiful. Highly recommend. The next book that I read is The Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black. I think when I was still posting videos, I talked about how much I loved The Cruel Prince, and obviously I still really enjoy the series. It's still on my favorite shelf over here. I don't know if you guys can see. Yeah, the series thus far is on my favorite shelf. So I wanted to eventually read more of Holly Black's books because I did really enjoy her writing in The Cruel Prince. However, I spent a lot of time reading this. I think it took me like 2.5 months to actually fully read this. Like, I kept putting it down and picking up something else, and putting it down and picking up something else, and it just didn't really enthrall me, which is really weird because the setting definitely did intrigue me when I read about it. This focuses on Hazel, who lives in the same setting as the characters in The Cruel Prince. It's kind of in the same world, so it's like a modern fantasy setting. And she is a human, but I guess the forest next to them is where the folk live, the fairies and whatnot. And there is a prince in here who's like asleep, and a bunch of other things happen. I can't really go into it, but it is really interesting just because the setting and whatnot. I really do like stories about fairies. Obviously, I really liked ACOTAR. I really liked The Cruel Prince. I really liked Enchantment of Raven. So I really like those types of stories. And this one didn't really just grip me. I don't know if it was the way it was written, or if like Hazel herself as a main character like didn't don't know, it didn't wow me. I didn't love her. I think the supporting cast of characters, like her brother, interested me a lot more, and I was really glad that we got some chapters that were from his perspective. So I don't know, like bits and pieces I liked, and just overall I thought this was going to be like a new favorite, but it definitely was not. Like, it wasn't a bad book, it just wasn't like, wow, couldn't put it down, like that type of book. So speaking of a book that I could not put down, the next book that I read was Cersei by Madeline Miller, and oh my goodness, I was not expecting this to become a new favorite book, but this book was absolutely amazing. I'm still like kind of shook by it, like how much I loved it. So it's obviously been a long time since I've been in high school, but in high school I had to read the Odyssey in, I think, my English class for like an epic poem or something like that. And this actually tells the story of Cersei, who was actually in the Odyssey, who was like the evil witch who basically turned all of Odysseus's crewmen into pigs and yada yada yada. Highly recommend reading the Odyssey if you have not read it, although I think that, at least for me in high school, it was required, like we had to learn about it. So I don't know if they're still doing that. But anyway, Cersei like wasn't a super intriguing character learning about the Odyssey, but this book just does an amazing job at like going in to detail about her life and her story. It's so empowering, like for women. There's just so much, like, I don't know, like it's just, I don't know how to describe it. It just really made me feel so empowered, because Cersei she just had a really crappy life. Like her life just was not the best in the beginning of just living with the gods and the goddesses, and everyone was just so cruel to her, even her own family. So I can't talk anymore about it because I don't want to give too much away because it's so good. If you really like Greek mythology and you were kind of like me and you did like learning about the Odyssey and all of that, then you'll probably really enjoy this book as well. So going from a book that I absolutely loved to a book that I really, really hated, another book that I read in the month of August was A Touch of Gold by Annie Sullivan. So this was something I was really looking forward to, like full on. I could not wait to read it because I had just finished Cersei and I was like, great, I'm gonna read more Greek mythology. I really like Greek mythology in general, and this was supposed to be about King Midas, his daughter, and all that. But unfortunately, this ended up being so bad. I wanted to DNF it so bad, but I don't know. One of the reasons why I just really disliked it is because I do this thing where sometimes when I start reading a plot, I'm like, wow, okay, maybe this will happen. Like I start like, I don't know, predicting what's gonna happen. And most of the time I'm not right, but this book I think was entirely too predictable, because I think I was like 10 pages in and I was like, I already know what's gonna happen. Like this is way too predictable. And I think I even told my husband, I was like, I know what's gonna happen already. And if that's the case, I'm gonna be really mad. And so I kept reading because I wanted to see if I was correct. And lo and behold, I was unfortunately correct. And I think that happened with another book series, which I don't want to talk about because I feel like the last time that I showcased that on my channel, I didn't get like a lot of hate, but I feel like people were just like, oh my god, she didn't like that book. So we're not going to talk about it. But that's essentially what happened with this book, is I predicted what was going to happen, and it did happen, and it made me really mad because I hate when that happens, and I just think it was because this book was too predictable. And on top of that, the characters were just really dry and not great and really boring and just one-dimensional. Not a fan. Also, like I said, this was supposed to be focused on Greek mythology set in a time of Greek mythology times, and there was like weird modern settings or like weird medieval settings that obviously didn't fit into this time. So it's like I was not a fan. I am definitely actually going to unhaul this one because I disliked it so much. The next book I read in the month of August is another favorite of mine. It's very, very good, and that is Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. This is another book. I feel like a lot of the books, like the theme of August was, this book is definitely not going to be a favorite, but this book will, and it ended up being the opposite because I wasn't expecting this one to be a new favorite. But this was very, very good. So this book is set during World War II, and it actually focuses on the disaster of the MV Wilhelm Gustloff, I believe. And essentially it was the worst like maritime disaster, I think ever. Like even bigger than the Titanic, the sinking of the Titanic. I don't know, I think it was like 3 times worse than the Titanic. Yeah, so this focuses on the Wilhelm Gustloff disaster, the Amber Room, and Operation Hannibal, which I don't think any of those are really touched on that much, at least from what I remember. Obviously, this is something that you should read because it's just such a beautiful and knowledgeable read, but it's heartbreaking. Like, I cried. I'm pretty sure I cried, and there's so much in here that is sensitive and it's rough. It's a rough read, but I still really loved it, and it's definitely one of my favorites, and I actually added like a whole bunch of other Ruta Sepetys novels to my Goodreads just because I want to check out more of her novels because her writing is also just amazing. Just a beautiful novel. I highly recommend. But like I said, definitely go into it knowing that you're probably going to cry. It's heartbreaking, but the characters are beautiful, the story is beautiful, and at the end it's just, I don't know, without giving it away, it's worth checking out. It's worth reading. So the last 2 books that I read in the month of August are actually graphic novels, and I read Saga Book 2 and Saga Book 3. So I'm sure everybody has heard of these already, but definitely should have heard about these because this graphic novel or comic or whatever, so good. Like, I cried reading this one, which I didn't think I would ever cry reading a comic about aliens, and I wasn't really expecting it to get as emotional as I did, but I cried at least like 3 or 4 times, and these characters are just so brilliant. They're all so different, and they all have these like motivations, and it focuses on family and like the different types of families and just like growing up, and there's just so many themes in Saga that I feel like everyone can like relate to. There's also a lot of like things in there about like just being a mother, like being a parent in general, which I relate to quite a bit because I am a parent. And it's just beautiful. Like, I love it. It's so good. And I can't go into detail obviously, but it is focused on a family. It's kind of like a space soap opera, kind of like Star Wars a little bit, where it's about a family and the connections to this family. And it's just really, really good. Like, very, very, very good. And I think that the comic right now is on a hiatus, unfortunately, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong though, because I tried to look for the next book to pre-order it and it's not available either. And I think I read in the back that it's on hiatus or something. So, I don't know, it's amazing, and I hope everyone reads it if they haven't, because it's good. So yeah, that is my wrap up for August. I had a really good reading month, and I'm hoping to have just as good of a reading month in September. I do want to thank Book Roast for kind of inspiring me to read as much as I did, because I was trying to participate in the Newts last month, which didn't work out. I didn't end up actually finishing what I needed to read for the Newts, but I ended up reading quite a bit because of it. So shout out to Book Roast for helping me be motivated to read. So what did you guys read for the month of August? Let me know down below in the comments. Or actually just let me know if you read any of these books and what did you think of them? Did you agree with what I said about the books, or did you disagree? Let me know. If you liked the video, make sure to like it and hit the subscribe button for more of these videos in the future. And I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day. Bye.